All right, let's dive right into this explainer and trace the fascinating 140-year journey of Mill Avenue. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We're treating the street itself as the main character of our story. We usually think of history as being all about people and big events, but sometimes a physical place, just a single road, can literally hold the entire memory of a city. If you've been there, you know Mill Avenue today as the bustling, vibrant heart of Tempe, Arizona. It's this dense, modern corridor, absolutely packed with restaurants, lively shops, nightlife, and all sorts of entertainment venues. It's constantly buzzing with students, locals, and visitors from all across the state. It just feels thoroughly modern and incredibly alive. But this raises a pretty fascinating question about our main character. How exactly did a quiet, dusty dirt road transform into such an iconic metropolitan center? I mean, it's so easy to look at a thriving downtown and assume, oh, it was always destined for greatness. But the reality? It's much more complex. It's full of near misses, total reinventions, and a whole lot of resilience. So let's look at Section 1, Roots in the Desert. To really wrap our heads around this transformation, we have to zoom way out. The avenue's story actually kicks off centuries ago. Long before there was a paved road or a bustling college town, the Hohokam people engineered this absolutely incredible network of irrigation canals right there in the Salt River Valley. Fast forward a bit to the late 1800s, specifically after Fort McDowell was established in 1865, and new settlers recognized the sheer brilliance of this ancient engineering. They actually revived those centuries-old canals. And that single act, that restoration of water flow, is what allowed early farming communities to completely flourish in what was otherwise a pretty unforgiving desert. And just look at the rapid momentum in the late 1800s. Things escalated incredibly fast. Our quiet little river crossing gains its entire purpose and identity in just a couple of decades. We go from Fort McDowell in 1865 to a massive mill in 1874 to getting an official town name in 1879, and then boom, a major educational institution by 1885. It's just this massive explosion of activity setting the stage for everything that follows. The whole thing really hinges on the arrival of a super influential settler named Charles Trumbull Hayden. He sets up shop near Tempe Butte, which of course we now call A Mountain, and builds a ferry crossing, a trading post, the works. Naturally, folks started calling it Hayden's Ferry. But his crown jewel was the Hayden Flour Mill, built in 1874. This mill processed local wheat and shipped flour all over Arizona and the entire Southwest. It was such a massive economic driver that it literally gave Mill Avenue its name. The avenue was practically born out of commerce, serving the farmers and mill workers of Hayden's Ferry. Moving on to Section 2, the birth of Tempe. As agriculture kept expanding and those new 1880s rail connections arrived, cementing the area as a major shipping hub, our growing street desperately needed a proper hometown identity. So, in 1879, the community decides it's time for a change. An early settler named Darrell Dupa looked out at the fertile fields, the flowing river, that prominent butte, and he was struck by this poetic resemblance. He suggested renaming the town Tempe, inspired by the lush, famous Vale of Tempe in Greece. It's such a wonderful little historical footnote, right? This dusty Arizona desert town getting named after an ancient Greek valley, all because of the incredible bounty from those revived canals. And then came the absolute game changer for the avenue's culture. In 1885, the Territorial Normal School was established nearby. Sure, it started small, but this institution would eventually evolve into Arizona State University. That single development permanently transformed Mill Avenue. Suddenly, all those restaurants, hotels, and shops, they weren't just catering to farmers and mill workers anymore, they were catering to students, faculty, and university visitors. The street basically pivoted overnight, from a rural agricultural corridor into the ultimate social and commercial center. Which brings us to Section 3, the automobile era. As the 20th century rolls in, our avenue actually has to literally bridge a gap to survive the rise of this brand new invention, the automobile. 1931, keep that year in mind. As cars became the norm, the old ways of crossing the Salt River just weren't cutting it anymore. Tempe desperately needed better transportation infrastructure if it wanted to stay relevant. And that need was perfectly met with the completion of the Mill Avenue Bridge. Before massive multi-lane freeways were crisscrossing the state, this specific bridge was a critical, crucial link. It carried major U.S. highways and kept travelers moving throughout Arizona. And what's truly remarkable is that this beautiful piece of 1930s engineering remains one of the oldest continuously used automobile bridges in the entire Phoenix metro area today. It physically tethered Mill Avenue to a rapidly modernizing country. Now for Section 4, Decline and Revitalization. Because let's face it, every great story has a midlife crisis, and Mill Avenue was definitely no exception. Like so many downtowns across America during the mid-20th century, Mill Avenue really suffered. As suburban expansion exploded, businesses and people essentially fled the traditional downtowns for the shiny new suburbs. The avenue went into a steep decline. But then, in the 1970s and 1980s, some incredibly passionate community leaders stepped up. They recognized the unique historic character of the street and absolutely refused to let it die. They launched this massive revitalization effort, restoring old buildings, sprucing up public spaces, and actively drawing new dining and shopping spots back in. And wow, this historic comeback was totally triumphant. The revitalization effort was so incredibly effective at blending that historical preservation with a modern economy that the American Planning Association actually honored the district, naming it one of the great streets in America. It's a huge testament to the power of a community just deciding to save its own heart. Finally, Section 5, the modern cultural hub. Fast forward to today, and all of this history builds into the modern cultural hub that seamlessly connects the sprawling ASU campus all the way down to Tempe Town Lake. What makes walking down Mill Avenue today so special is that you aren't just walking past, modern glass and steel. You can still literally see the avenue's vibrant history preserved right in front of you. Landmarks like the Hayden Flour Mill, which still stands as a monument to the street's namesake. Plus, you've got the Mill Avenue Bridge, the Hackett House, the Tempe National Bank Building, the Tempe Hardware Building, and the Hayden House. These structures are carefully preserved anchors. They stand proudly alongside modern amenities, fresh landscaping, and cool pedestrian spaces. They hold the stories of early settlers while serving as the perfect backdrop for today's community festivals. 140. That number represents over 140 years of continuous evolution. From a simple farmer's path built on ancient canals, serving a flour mill, to a beloved, instantly recognizable downtown district that perfectly balances its historic charm with modern infrastructure. To wrap up this explainer, I want you to think about this. We've seen Mill Avenue survive the shift from horse and buggy to the automobile. We've seen it survive a devastating mid-century suburban flight, only to fuel Tempe's ultimate rebirth. So, considering everything this avenue has survived and everything it's built, what incredible transformations await it in the next 100 years? When you really understand the history beneath your feet, a walk down a great street becomes a walk through time itself.